When the ALCS and NLCS started to get underway, so when the Rangers played the Astros and the Diamondbacks took on the Phillies, it all of a sudden started to creep into not just my mind, but everyone else's mind. The possibility of a Rangers D-backs World Series. It seemed unlikely at the beginning, but I and everyone else couldn't help but realize a series between those two teams would be the last thing MLB wanted. Favoritism? No, just in terms of ratings. It would not be good for baseball. Really quick, I'm trying to get to 140,000 subscribers before 2024, so if you enjoy the content and haven't hit that button yet, consider doing so. Thank you. So as much as I actually wanted to see the Rangers and D-backs potentially face off, two teams that hadn't even made it to the playoffs in years, let alone the World Series, two underdog teams that could make a great story, I still knew that it really wouldn't be the best scenario to happen for baseball. The Houston Astros are a team that's built themselves into a very noticeable name for tons of casual fans. Which, let's face it, that's what the playoffs and overall World Series is mostly for and about when it comes to the ratings. The casuals, the people who aren't living and breathing all 162 games during the regular season. 10 years ago, most casuals probably didn't even know who the Astros were. Skip ahead to now, and with them just being so consistently great over the years, along with, of course, being the villains of baseball because of the cheating scandal, they have become a very recognizable team that tons of casual fans will tune in to watch. The Phillies are a team that has a massive fan base in general. Philadelphia is a massive sports town in general. Their fans are nuts, so that of course helps ratings, but not only that, they have some stars, including one of the most popular baseball players and athletes of all time, Bryce Harper, someone who is hyped up as the LeBron James of baseball at 16 years old, and he really has, for the most part, lived up to those expectations. He's incredible, and he's a very intense and marketable personality that casuals can latch onto and have fun watching, even if they aren't Phillies fans. So having an Astros-Phillies World Series would have had nice ratings, especially with the fact that it would have been a rematch from last year, so that helps even more. But even if just one of those teams made it, ratings would have had more potential. Astros, Diamondbacks, or Rangers Phillies could have done well, but again, as the championship series continued to go on, as both underdog teams forced a Game 7 on the road, eventually winning those Game 7s on the road, MLB's worst nightmare, or at least worst case scenario for this year's postseason came true. We were having a Rangers D-backs World Series, and automatically, again, we all thought, yeah, this is going to be a very unpopular World Series. Not many are going to watch, and this is for a number of reasons. I have all the respect in the world for both the D-backs and the Rangers and their fans. But D-backs fans aren't known to be a very popular fan base. They're more of the kind of fan base that needs to win and content to have at least decent attendance during the regular season. The Rangers do have pretty good attendance, even when they aren't good, but they're still not a very popular team, at least not as popular and known among casuals like the other Texas team has made themselves into in the last several years. As far as the actual teams themselves, like the players, I feel like if the Rangers and D-backs faced off in the World Series, not this year, but next year and a couple of years from now, the outlook would be different. But unfortunately, these are two teams that just started being good again after years of missing the postseason. They're both just a couple years removed from being completely irrelevant teams, losing over 100 games in 2021. And as for the talent and players on the team, there really aren't any, or at least quite as many recognizable names. There's nobody who jumps out like a Bryce Harper. The Diamondbacks do have a lot of good and fun players, obviously. They're in the damn World Series, but again, just not as recognizable. A guy like Ketel Marte, who's literally setting records for getting hits in every postseason game he's ever played, had only been in the playoffs once before this year. That was 6 years ago, and it was for about 10 minutes. As good and underrated as a player as Marte is, he's just now fully entering the scene for casuals around the country and world to watch him. You then have a guy like Corbin Carroll, a literal rookie. So no matter how great he is, and he's surely been great, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, he's still a rookie. Most aren't too familiar with him, and it's going to take at least another year for him to get more well-known among the casual fans. The Texas Rangers are in the same boat. They have some star players, but not enough star power like Bryce Harper, at least not right now. Corey Seager is a monster, and would be the MVP if Shohei Ohtani was nice and not the most talented player ever, but he's not as recognizable, despite playing on playoff-bound and World Series-bound Dodger teams for years. I'd say he's a little more quiet, and after signing with Texas, he surely didn't get any attention in 2022, because he wasn't that great, and the Rangers, of course, weren't either. So even though he's back to his amazing ways in 2023, he's just not as familiar among the casual fans. The guy who plays to his left in the infield across second base, Marcus Semien, has never really been on a true playoff run before 2023. He was good with Oakland, but it's Oakland, and they lost in the wild card game 2 years in a row. Other than that, he really hasn't been under the spotlight at all, and to add on to that, Simeon's always been a pretty quiet guy too. He can show emotion at times, just like Seager can at times. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to use his name for the 12th time in this video to compare. I know it's getting old by now, but it's just the truth. He doesn't have that Bryce Harper familiarity to him. Adolis Garcia has jumped out onto the scene this postseason, and it's made a lot of people excited to watch him, but it's not enough to drastically change ratings. There's no superstar stud pitchers on either side. There's a lot of good pitchers who are getting the job done, but there's no Jacob deGrom type name, who ironically is on the Rangers, but had to get Tommy John, unfortunately. So going into this year's World Series, it was pretty obvious to expect not as many people to be watching and for the ratings to be low. And well, yep, it's been just about as bad as expected, maybe even worse. I mean, Game 1 of this year's World Series was the least watched World Series game ever. That was followed up by a Game 2 that had even lower ratings, so Game 2 then became the least watched World Series game ever. Game 3 then said Hold My Beer and had even lower ratings, becoming the least watched World Series game ever. Okay, at this point, I think you and we all get the point. I'm not actually going to dig any deeper into what Game 4 looked like, and it won't matter what any of the other games are going to look like as far as ratings go. We get it. We expected this Rangers D-backs World Series to have terrible ratings, and it has terrible ratings. But I'm going to be the voice of reason here and say that although, yeah, this isn't ever what you want to see as a baseball fan. You don't want to see the World Series mostly being ignored by people, but at the end of the day, it's really not a big deal. This isn't really necessarily a bad thing for baseball. Is it a good thing for baseball to have nobody be watching the World Series? Of course not, but we all know why this is the case for all the reasons I just went over. And if there was ever a year to use as an example to say that baseball is dead, 2023 sure as hell ain't it. Users watching MLB TV increased by 14% from last year, 2022, and fans watched 17% more games than last year too. Fans from the age 18 to 24 watched 16% more games this season as well. So just based off watching the games at home, viewership was up by a considerable amount in 2023. And it didn't stop at home. Attendance at games at ballparks this year had an increase of over 9%, which is the largest increase in 30 years, surpassing over 70 million fans in attendance this year overall, the largest increase in overall fans going to games since 1998. 17 teams registered attendance of over 2.5 million, matching the most in MLB history. 8 teams had over 3 million fans in attendance, so on and so forth. Baseball is in a good, dare I say, great spot right now. There's always room to work on and improve, but there are tons of young and marketable stars. Viewership, attendance, social media engagement were all up significantly this year. There's really nothing more that needs to be said regarding that. So the World Series not being watched sucks, obviously, but considering the fact that none of the young marketable superstars are participating in it this year, whether it's Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis Jr., Bryce Harper, Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, it should be expected that this year's Fall Classic isn't very popular. Baseball is not dead. It's the complete opposite of dead, and that statement has never been more true. So who cares? I'm happy for the Rangers and D-backs. I've had fun watching this World Series, and I know this has no correlation on the current state of baseball as a whole. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.